Hello, my name is Craig. Welcome to the Binghamton University Anime Club podcast. I'm one of your hosts.
Hi, my name is Ben. I am the president of the Animation Club here at Bing.
I thought we changed it officially.
Yeah, we technically changed it to Anime Club, but I need to do the paperwork. I don't really feel like doing it, so it's going to be a little bit longer. But yeah.
So
I'm the other co-host.
yeah, so we have our three guests today. A little different than usual. Instead of having regular members from our club, we have three outside members that are very inexperienced to the realm of anime. So please introduce yourselves.
I'm Sam. I am Connor, otherwise known by an absurd amount of people on this campus as Bojack.
Hi, I'm Caitlin.
So yeah, they're not really fans of anime or haven't seen too much, so we're going to ask them some questions as to why that is the case and why just kind of in general there's kind of a stigma towards anime in the West. But first, I think me and Ben are just going to talk about some recent shows that we've seen, just kind of our thoughts on the new spring season. So, are there any shows that you've watched that you
Megaloboxing.
I haven't seen it yet.
You're degenerate.
No,
I mean, actually, so I just want to say, like, it's actually probably the best anime out right now.
I've heard
So a lot of people like it, and I've watched it. And I should also preface, so Megaloboxing is the 50th anniversary for Ashita no Joe. So it's kind of a remake of this like boxing anime that was made in like 1972 that finished in 1978, and basically it's just it's boxing, but dudes with massive mechanical arms boxing who just beat the living daylights out of each other. So it's just overall like a great it's a great theme, and it's also just it has like this. It's not too edgy, but it has like that sprinkle of like edge where you're just like.
No, I really like the aesthetic it presents, like the whole '90s kind of looking thing.
Mm-hmm.
I saw online like they actually made the quality of the show worse so that it looks more like the '90s, which I think is really cool.
It's pretty cool.
It looks like kind of like Trigun Bebop-esque. There. Speaking of like sequels and remakes and stuff, there's a bunch this season. I'm watching a bunch. Are you watching a bunch?
So I'm actually like watching less this time because last season I watched 10 different shows.
Yeah.
So like I actually but I have like a lot of work to do.
Yeah.
With Maid Cafe. So, Anime Cafe.
Anime Cafe. Plug for the Anime
So
Cafe.
yeah, that is the plug. But yeah, I've actually I've been watching like instead of 10 like 5 or 6. So.
Yeah. I mean, have you seen the new Steins Gate yet?
No, I have not.
What about the new? Okay, we've both seen
I've
Hero
seen Tokyo
Academia.
Ghoul.
Oh, okay, good.
Yeah.
So I'm also seeing it. What do you
So
think?
confusing.
Yeah.
So like the time skip means that you actually need to have like read the manga.
I don't know if it's just because I've heard enough about the manga to understand, or that it isn't that awful. But I feel like I'm following it all right. Like I think it's so far. I think the first season was the best, even though I still don't think it was great. It had a good setup. Like the first couple episodes of season 1 were good. Season 2 was awful, and this I think is somewhere in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's very different, and I think it's kind of accepting the fact that it's become a battle shonen as opposed to a seinen, which it tries to be. But like the characters in the squad are just, they bother me. They're just written so cartoony that it's just absurd.
Yeah, the like otaku girl who it makes no sense.
She shouldn't. That's my whole problem with the show. It has no idea what it's doing with its tone half the time. Like her Juzo always bothered me. I don't know. It's just inconsistent.
And I just gotta say, episode 1 of My Hero Academia, probably one of the biggest disappointments that like.
Quality. I love swimming. I love free. I was excited when Bakugo, Deku, and Todoroki were about to do the swimming race, and they're just like, nope. I'm like, are you kidding? Like the one exciting part of the episode, they're just.
I think they also make the main character a lot more jacked in the anime because he has
Yeah.
like serious pecs and like triceps. I'm like,
Yeah,
wow.
I mean, to be fair, like he did have to bulk up to use.
I mean, yeah, no, like it makes sense, but you're just like,
Yeah, I think
He's got
we've had our
both,
My Hero
yeah.
Academia quota.
yeah, all right.
Let's see. Have you seen the new Sword Art Online show?
No.
It's not terrible. It is the spin-off to the original Sword Art Online, but it's about Gun Gale, and it's almost like Fortnite, the anime.
Nah.
It's
We love
quality.
Fortnite.
Yes.
Nah.
We
Wow.
love Fortnite.
I was gonna make that joke like 20 minutes later, and now I can't.
Sorry.
Yeah, it's not terrible. What about
But
it?
like that shows trauma. Like, I was
It's not about
yeah.
Kirito though. He's not it. It's about a little girl that's actually a college girl that plays as a little girl because she has
Wow.
a complex about her height. Like,
Wait,
that,
is she
yeah,
that's
it's
really
really
funny.
stupid. She's like my
Wait.
height, and she's like, I can't handle being this tall, so in this video game, I'm gonna play as a short girl.
I watched like 4 episodes of Sword Art Online like 2 years ago, and it was just like upsetting. It was it's absurd.
It's pretty bad.
Wait, but that means you haven't even gotten to the worst part.
No,
It gets
I'm sure I
worse.
Yeah,
have.
no, like you're
It's
pretty
much
far out.
worse.
Yeah, it gets.
Have you seen Persona 5?
No, I don't.
Yeah.
I don't mess
It's
with
alright.
Persona.
Trying to think
I
if
one
there's
thing I
anything.
want to do say is that real girl / like 3D girl, I think is also how it translates, is actually surprisingly good.
Really?
Yeah,
Alright, I've been debating checking
Like,
the first episode.
it's like, I mean, it's a rom com, so like, it's not like,
It's not great.
well, hey,
Okay.
all I'll say for it is that like I think it portrays because it's kind of about like a weeb / it's in Japan though, so it's an otaku who gets a girlfriend. And I think it does a kind of good job being like, yeah, you can't go from like loving 2D women to girlfriend like 1-to-1. There's kind of a big difference there. So
Then I think you would like Wodakai. Have you seen that? Otaku ni koi. Butchering. It's basically two otakus that knew each other from middle school, and
But-
then they start working together, and then they're like, let's just date. It's pretty funny.
Aw.
Yeah, it's cute. It's I don't know. I'd recommend it. There's one episode out now. It's enjoyable. Is there anything else? Have you
I
seen
mean,
Magical
that's more
Girl
of it.
Sight?
No.
Edge. That's all I'm gonna say. I think that's everything I've seen so far. Have you seen the new Legend of the Galactic Heroes?
So I saw an episode and it just wasn't as good. And I was just like,
that
you
makes
know
sense.
what? I don't really want to tarnish my memories. So
The greatest anime ever made.
basically,
Like actually,
actually, yeah.
like it's pretty. It's considered like the best.
Yeah.
It's like a giant space opera battle epic. It's 110 episodes long from the 80s that just took the whole decade to make.
Yeah.
But like it's actually considered to be well written, which I know is shocking.
Shocking.
I think that's everything I've seen. I'm hyped for FLCL whenever that comes out.
Okay, never.
It's coming out like June, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it should come out soon.
I saw the first couple episodes of the new Cutie Honey, but there's nothing worth talking about. I want to see the new Lupin. It looks pretty cool.
I've heard Lupin Part 5 or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
Whatever. That I've heard it's pretty good.
Yeah, I've heard good things. Let me just what's on my list. Yeah, no, that's about everything. Except what is it? I've seen most of Monthly Girls Nozaki-kun,
Mhm.
and I'm just kind of like, this exists. I feel like there was a lot of hype around it when it came out a few years ago, and I'm just like, this is pretty standard.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like there hasn't been like a whole lot of crazy stuff because last season I watched 10 shows, and now I'm looking back, I was like, I'm trying to think of one that really wowed me. And
Yeah.
I feel like there wasn't
Like
really a lot.
I didn't like Darling in the Franxx that much. I'm like really behind, but I've only seen like 4 episodes, and it just doesn't do it.
Violet Evergarden was pretty good, but
Mm.
like it really dragged on. Like I had a couple of episodes that were like, wow, this is a really good anime, but then it's like other ones where you're like, wow,
Yeah,
I
it
would rather
seems-
just drink hot chocolate.
Yeah,
I'm
it just-
not sure.
It just seems
Not sure.
really slow. Overlord came out.
Oh yeah, I mean that was a fun one.
It's
Like,
fun. It
it's
was very all over the
ridiculous.
place.
The lizard sex actually was like, please stop.
Yeah, no, they actually
Yeah,
showed like
so, yeah.
a brief lizard sex scene.
Oh yeah, so I'm not really sure how to explain that one to you guys, but yeah, there's a lizard sex scene, and it was literally there for no reason. So
It was just
welcome
comedy.
to the world of anime.
I mean, it made sense why the lizards were having sex,
Right.
but they didn't need to show it. Well, they were lizard people.
Yeah.
So basically, this guy was about to go off to battle, and his wife was like, "Let's make children
Was not
in case
wife.
you die." Girlfriend.
It wasn't even a girlfriend.
They were implied to start dating.
Were they?
They were in love.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
she
that
was
was
just like,
kinda
"You're gonna
thing,
die
yeah,
in this
yeah.
battle,
Yeah,
so let's
yeah,
have a
it's
way to
kinda like-
remember you."
Like, I saw the shape of water.
I actually haven't seen the shape of water.
Not revised.
It's just applicable to the situation.
There's
Yeah.
at least 2 separate instances of this sex.
Yes.
So,
Nice. Definitely gotta go watch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, I bet it would be a great
It's
anime.
not. I maybe.
I think Devilman was like the only really good
Oh,
show.
but that was a while ago. Though.
Yeah,
Devilman-
we've talked about that
Yeah,
like twice already.
Yeah,
I think.
Devilman's dope.
Yeah, Devilman's great. Go watch that. So I think that's everything we've seen recently. Should we start asking some questions?
All right,
So
sure, yeah.
I wrote them down on my phone. Let's see.
Also, is there any guys? Well, I guess we can ask that later.
What?
Is there any questions you guys have, like to
That's
start
a good
off
one.
about, like what would you like?
What is
Yeah.
anime?
I have a question.
All right, yeah.
So, it kind of seems like anime is like kind of its own like kind of closed off world. You know what I mean? How did you like enter it?
How do I
You know what I mean?
enter? How do I enter the world?
I mean,
It is, bro.
Yeah.
I think I have a more standard like.
No,
yours is a
dark.
little more weirder.
No.
Mine is more- What?
Anime art.
No, mine is more like what a lot more people went through. It was like Naruto was on Cartoon Network. I started watching Naruto. I'd watched Yu-Gi-Oh! And Pokemon as a kid. I watched Dragon Ball,
Yeah, but like,
and then
lots of people do that.
yeah, and then
Like, I
it
did
just
that.
I don't know. It
And
just
like-
kind of I grew up like watching like I reading comics and watching like Justice League and stuff like that. So I was always in the nerdier realm. I always just kind of associated more as a nerdy person. So like in high school, I heard about certain anime and I was like, that sounds really cool. I want to try that and see if this is a nerdy interest I might like. So that's basically what happened.
So for me, I also like watched a lot of Naruto, like Bleach, all that stuff. But what kind of got me like into the anime world was this one anime called Valrap the Liberator. It is the most obscure anime on the planet.
It's not the most
It's not the most.
It's
it
the
came out in
most-
like
it-
2012, 2013. Might have been
I think
2013.
13.
Yeah.
11?
No, it was 2013.
To the internet.
Something. Anyway, regardless, it's basically just about vampires piloting mechs. And I was like,
It was
it was
2013.
in space. So it just keeps getting better. And like I was like, wait, but like it was super edgy, and like I just loved it because I was like, wait, there's like nothing like this. Like, can you name like one American show that goes that fucking like batshit crazy, going like complete off the wall nutty stuff? That's what I liked, and then I realized like, wait, there's like a whole world of just complete absurdity. I want to go. I want to enter. So like after that, like I kind of like kind of went and like just kept watching like kind of obscure shows. So, like I've actually seen like a lot of obscure shows like actually because of that experience. But yeah.
Once you type in Naruto on Daily Motion, exactly, you're just
It's
screwed.
Yeah.
Once
Yeah,
you
no.
find that Naruto anime YouTube video, Setsu in the end. Like, that's it. You're in. Like,
That's it. You're in. So, why do you guys think there is necessarily like this closed off world of anime versus American stuff? And do you think there's like a stigma that exists? Why do you think?
A big thing I think probably is that most people probably when they watch anime, especially since most of it like Tsunami and stuff, it's the most Western anime there are, like Naruto and Bleach and stuff. And for most people, it's probably just like cartoons from Japan. But why would you watch cartoons from Japan when you can watch cartoons from America? So that's probably why a lot of people.
Yeah, this is kind of another question. Like, do you think it's because it's cartoons necessarily, or do you think it's the foreign influence?
I think because the way the medium's been introduced here, it's portrayed as cartoons, and that if you want to find the rest of it, like you actually do have to kind of go searching for it and like go on like Funimation and buy a subscription and stuff, which is a lot, especially if something isn't dubbed or something.
That's kind of, it's weird. It's like marketing of anime in the West has changed from like 10 years ago. They were like, let's get this so that everyone watches it and put Naruto and stuff on Toonami during 5 o'clock, 5 p.m., whatever, stuff like that. Whereas nowadays, anime is becoming much more of a presence online in that they're trying to just get already existing fans. And like they're putting Toonami late night on Saturday night so that the anime fans watch it.
Yeah, they pretty much have their niche now. And they're just trying to expand it. You don't need to. I mean, the world team's 10 years from now.
I'm actually kind of surprised that you said that most anime fans like watch it because they're into cartoons. Because I feel like the general idea about anime fans and like anime fans in particular is that they're just weebs or like that they're just like Japan.
Right. Yeah. No.
Wow, what a place. So I just thought that was kind of interesting, like how I guess thoughts have changed. I feel like for a while that was whatever, but that's also generalization that you could.
Well, I think there's a group of people in the anime scene that are like that.
Oh yeah,
but that doesn't necessarily.
Yeah.
But they're just the loudest. Like every passionate group of people in a niche passionate group of people. So like that's just the impression that people have. Like So it's I mean there's a stigma for it. Yeah, sure. Just because it's from like another country.
Because it's just so foreign
and
and
it's
different.
a different culture.
It's also like weird. I think
I mean it is
like
just weird.
Would you guys
sometimes.
agree? Like that's one of the reasons is that you like everything that's anime that's on the internet that's like just kind of GIFs and stuff is just kind of out there.
Yeah.
Like even in context, it doesn't necessarily make sense.
Most people think anime is technical porn, which you know.
I mean,
is
so,
it?
So like the thing is like
33% of anime.
But like that is like so I feel like I guess maybe I shouldn't reveal, but like my view on like why it's stigmatized is because like it is like anime is by nature very diverse, and so like there's anime that's about philosophy and stuff, but there's also a lot more that's just pornography. Or hentai. So like because of that, you're just like, well, shit.
Yeah. No. Do you guys think the sexualization is like? Do you think that's one of the big problems?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
It's what put me off. I mean, it's not put me off. But that one time, remember, I was sleeping at your house, and you just watched like a YouTube video from some dude that you watch about like the top 10 like opening sequences in anime or something like that, and then he was like, "This one has some fetishization of girls, but the animation is like beautiful. The music is so cool." And I was like, "Did he like?"
Yeah.
Did he just like write that off? Like,
you get used to it, but like I think one of the things.
Isn't it bad that you get used to it?
Well, this is the thing. I feel like one of the stigmas is kind of like all anime fans accept all the fan service and stuff. But like,
I think that's
it gets weird. Yeah. Like I get used to it, but I still don't necessarily like it when it happens. Like
and there's also like different varying degrees of fan service, unfortunately. Like I'd say like and what I mean is like they're just straight up like illegal stuff. It's like sexualization of like 10-year-old girls. And
it's like, weird. Nice. Like
I also think part of the stigma comes from the fact that sexualization of 10-year-old girls is fan service.
Yeah.
Like what does that say about the fan?
I mean, one of the reasons is the age of consent is lower in Japan, so it's not as weird there, but it is still pretty weird. Especially for foreign audiences, they're like, why is a 13-year-old girl able to be portrayed like this? Yeah. Like there's anime about like a weird subgenre that is somehow relevant that keeps having new shows is the little sister genre where a guy has a younger sister that isn't related by blood and they end up together somehow. And it's
Woody Allen.
Are there any girls in anime club?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Because I was gonna say I feel like it's a super male dominated.
It definitely isn't anymore.
That's also a thing.
So, I mean, our club actually is predominantly male, but also like a lot of women who are into anime are really into yaoi, which basically is gay guys being gay.
Oh my god! Yeah! That's the
Yuri
only
on
time.
Ice.
Yuri on Ice. I fucking love.
But even Yuri on Ice is nowhere near as extreme as like some yaoi stuff.
I mean, Yuri on Ice.
Yuri on Ice is just
yaoi,
it's yaoi
sure.
because it's just two men dating, whereas there's some yaoi shows where it's like not exactly porny, but like.
I mean, that's why I don't like
Yuri
on Ice because I was watching it because like I wanted to see some gay stuff. And it was just like them hanging out.
Well, yeah,
I mean,
like, Yuri on Ice is more a sports show.
Definitely like
with,
different.
It has gay elements.
I mean, I disagree with that.
Enough.
No, I mean,
you saw one episode.
No,
and it wasn't gay enough.
because the male romantic lead for the main character was introduced at the very end of the episode.
There's also this thing called fan fiction, which like that definitely no, it's pretty nutty. I wouldn't open any like Yuri on Ice book at a con like ever if you don't want to see some like male booty like
there's male booty in the first episode.
Oh, I mean, there's
when
male
Victor
booty.
comes out of the hot spring naked.
That's true.
Yeah, but like there is like we were talking about fan service for girls, but there is definitely male fan service in shows, but like it's just not as prevalent or as weird because it's a lot, I think, easier and more normal to just make like a guy with like a really good looking chest because that kind of looks normal, whereas there are girls with giant boobs and it's abnormally weird and distracting.
Do you really think Takio Goda looks like a normal person? But
no,
that's a different issue.
That's not for fan service. That's more for comedy, though.
Yeah, all right. I'll go with that.
But like, I don't know, like shows like High School DxD or Prison School where the girls are just drawn abnormal. I feel like it's much more jarring compared to a show like Free where the guys are just built men.
Yeah,
who
and like
don't really look
another
weird.
interesting point that I think Rob was the one. So if this is wrong, blame Rob. He was talking about how actually like a majority, or not a majority, but around 40 to 50% of people who read One Piece. And to give you guys context, that's like the biggest. That's one of the biggest manga,
highest selling, I think.
Highest selling, in the world. Actually, like
pirates.
40 to 50% is read by women, just because there's a lot of dudes who are just jacked, at least in Japan, or just jacked, and they're just like, you know what? These dudes, jack dudes, never, because they're pirates, so they never wear shirts.
And
so like a lot of like teenage girls really like that part of One Piece. So, like
One Piece.
And like the guys aren't real, like it's really weird because in One Piece specifically, the girls are drawn like outlandishly with their proportions, whereas the guys are just kind of like standard designs. It's
kind of, but they're all jacked.
They're jacked, but like they're understandably jacked. Whereas like,
and they're also never wearing clothes. So like, there's like
Frankie, just his costume is a open buttoned up, unbuttoned shirt and no pants. Just pretty solid. So let's see, what other questions do I have? So do you think a big problem is that the narratives themselves are very strange, or do you think the style itself is strange?
I'd say the style. I think like it's just something very, very foreign. Not even because it's from another country, but just like it's not something we see often. And then just the fetishization of women is absurd. And so, like, for that, like, even
but what about the fetishization of men?
Okay, but like,
you're talking to the wrong person.
Yeah, I mean, but that is like, I guess,
it's definitely more prevalent for women, and it's also something that like we see all the time. So I don't know if I want to go out of my way to see it even more so and more blatantly. And even if it's not like necessarily inherent, it's just the way that anime is presented. Like the big ones that I know in my mind, it's all just like humongous tits staring at me.
Big,
okay.
My thing with fan service, like even when I was like a bigger anime fan, like I saw some very like sexually laced anime, and I was just like, this isn't like this. Just watch porn, and it sucks because fan service is everywhere. Fan service is like, good anime, and it like detracts from it. And it sucks because like it's a wonderful medium and it can do things that other forms of mediums can. Only recently, cartoons have figured out that they can do more serious stuff and be more subtle with their facial expression stuff. And anime's been doing that for years, like stuff like Bebop and all the Miyazaki films are amazing. I just wish anime would spend more time focusing on that than big ginormo titties.
I mean, even Cowboy Bebop though has some.
No, yeah, of course.
But you also like
Bebop. It's the style.
I know,
like,
I know.
Everything about that show is meant to be like stylish and cool and sexy. So like it makes sense that Faye is wearing such a revealing costume. Like it goes with her personality. I feel like it's not too bad in that show and that it makes sense. That's just me. She's supposed to be like a 50s like pinup girl, but like a cool badass one. I don't know, that's her character.
I mean, I definitely agree, but like it's still the underlying point of like there being big anime titties.
Yeah. I think it's just weird because like in live action shows, I mean, if you look at costumes of women compared to men, they're like sometimes ridiculous.
I mean, I'm not sure if you've ever seen Transformers.
Pretty obscure anime.
Yeah, pretty obscure, but like I mean, there's just shots where like Megan Fox is running and they're just like her boobs are just center stage, or like when she's just on the car, like I don't forgot what she was doing, but she was just doing random crap. And
she's working on like the motorcycle or the car. And
I know, and she's just like laying in the car and be like.
I think it's just like anime. Someone has to specifically draw that and come up with the specific trait of big boobs.
That's
true. Like,
wait. So your question was, do you think the stigma comes from the narrative or the style? Right?
Yeah. Like, do you think that a show, let's say like Naruto, if you take away a lot of the Japanese elements, okay, maybe Naruto's not the best example because it's about ninjas. Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. Yeah, it's like, or Death Note. Like, they made the live-action Death Note movie. Do you think the inherent story of Death Note is something that could work if it wasn't so Japanese-like?
Yeah, well, I don't think the stigma comes from the narrative at all, because people who have a stigma against it don't watch it. They don't know what the narrative is. You know what I mean? So it all comes from the style or the preconceived notions or whatever. But, I was going to say something. No, I think that for me, at least when I watch a show, the story is like most of what I care about. You know what I mean? Like when I've heard you talk about some of your favorite shows, you're like, oh, the story's trash, but it's like beautiful.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That is
I would
definitely...
like never like watch a show that I didn't like captivate me with the story. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Why
I think
like,
that
consume,
it's definitely a big difference between anime and animated stuff. I think when watching, I notice myself paying more attention to each individual aspect. Whereas when I'm watching like a live action show, like I love The Office or I love
I love how you call The Office a live action show.
What's wrong with you?
Tons of action.
With real people. Yeah. That's what I mean. Like The Office or Arrested Development or whatever. I like, I'm not really caring about how it's presented and how it looks, whereas I'm more focused on the comedy and the characters and things. Whereas anime, I'm like, wow, let me really pay attention to the cinematography and the music.
Really? I feel like I'm kind of the opposite, where because it's like just the cartoon and like.
Really?
Well, not just the cartoon because I love cartoons, but I mean, yeah, I would say like I would actually. So I feel like it's a little bit both, like because like as I said, all of you guys laughed, myself included, when I talked about massive mechs in space piloted by some vampires. Like that's pretty nutty.
Ridiculous.
And I do think that's kind of like there is that kind of sense of like that's what anime is, because like even like Dragon Ball Z is ridiculous, Naruto's ridiculous, so like they make hand signals and like fire and stuff comes out, but like you never hear about Silver Spoon. Like, and let me guys. Silver Spoon is basically a show about a urban, like a grade 8 student from Tokyo going to a rural area in Japan and farming, and we're like, wow, farming's pretty cool, and like, yeah, exactly.
It's on Netflix.
And exactly, and it's all about like what is like, well, it's just kind of just about a cool show, and like it has a lot of cool characters, I feel like, and like. It can kind of get deep about like what's the ethics of killing an animal, but like doesn't really, like it's just a kind of like lighthearted, funny show about, and like you guys all didn't hear about that, and so like there's also the question of like the narratives that come across. I feel like are the absurd ones where like giant man-eating like 20-foot titans killing crap, and like So I feel like there's a little bit of both, if that makes sense, because of like both narrative and stuff.
Yeah.
I feel like going back to what you said, like about The Office and Arrested Development or whatever, I feel like with those kind of shows, like the style serves the narrative. You know what I mean? Like you don't.
Oh, I get
Is
what
there
you
a
mean.
narrative in The Office though?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the
It really is.
narrative?
It's like
Well, it just
I guess
all
it's
regular
drama.
There it is,
American
Yeah,
daily life.
drama develops.
Yeah.
Whereas like anime, it's like here's the plot, and it's like this for every episode. Whereas like live action shows in America are more like very slow burn, much more time to do things.
Yeah.
I think anime has such a time constraint, and that especially with the
Well, also
changing seasonal
depends.
stuff. Yeah.
Like now it does, but there's also like there used to be like a lot of more sitcom. I mean, there's also like Miss Saison.
Yeah, it's
Saison's
been
on
running
there,
since like the
yeah.
60s.
So
I feel like the live action shows you wouldn't like them as much if they weren't filmed in the way they were. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
You described two shows that are both like the same like style of like the single camera whatever. But I feel like a lot of times from what I know, which is very little, in anime like the style comes first,
Yeah.
and then if the story is good, it's good. You know, it doesn't. They don't like kind of go as hand in hand.
Yeah, I think that's
How would
definitely a
you-
point.
so
I-
what about Kimono Friends?
Oh God.
But like, so Kimono Friends is this like show where it's all like all these like, how do I explain it? I guess animal girls or whatever. It's kind of weird, but like, but it popped off in Japan. It was one of the most famous like anime in Japan.
For last winter.
Yeah, last winter. So this was last year.
It
right?
just blew up.
Yeah, it just blew up, and it literally has the worst like
Production.
production.
value.
Like
It's awful.
it's actually
looking,
painful to watch.
Yeah.
So like,
but it became
Yeah.
a smash hit.
but yeah,
I
but
don't-
that's also in Japan though.
Yeah.
so that's like another.
It really
also
didn't
point, 'cause
catch
it
on
didn't really
here
catch
as
on.
much.
I mean, there are definitely shows like that. Have you guys ever seen the 100 that show?
I've heard of this.
The acting and the writing is like total trash. Like it's really hard to watch. I almost had to stop watching it. But the
Almost.
story is like so captivating that like I had to watch the next episode.
Mhm.
You know what I mean?
I definitely think the best anime use their medium to its fullest advantages to do things that you can't do in any other medium.
Well, like that's like what I was trying to say, like with The Office or whatever. Like I like watching bad shows because most of the time, even the like really bad ones, like Attack on Titan, I really don't like the writing at all. But some of the camera work in that and the presentation is just so different that I just need to experience it. Whereas what I meant before with the like live action stuff is like I don't necessarily care about like the specific cuts or like the quality of the camera. Like obviously I care about the stylistic stuff, like the way it's filmed or presented, like The Office's like documentary style, whatever. But like it's like shows like Attack on Titan or like we were talking about Tokyo Ghoul, where it's like if something looks so different, I just need to kind of see what all of the hype is about.
See, I'm like the exact opposite. The reason I like those shows, like as I said, I like vampire space mech stuff. So like I love stuff like Tokyo Ghoul and stuff like that. The one that actually and so like I very rarely like actually care about style except like Shao Rakuga,
Yeah,
which is
that's a
like
cool
but that show like actually was like I thought the cinematography, especially like after taking a couple cinema classes, I was like, wow, this
Yeah,
Great,
no,
yeah.
because it has all the different shots for like all the different characters.
Yep.
in it. Like that
Yeah,
shows
that
that
actually-
like you can't do that.
and yeah, live
It'd be
action, yeah.
so hard to do in like any other medium,
Mhm.
which is weird because I feel like something like Showa Rakugo would have been a drama, and
Yeah,
then they're like, let's
like-
make this an anime. And I'm like, that's interesting.
I have a question for you guys.
Mhm.
You keep talking about how you could do stuff in anime that you can't do in any other medium. Why can't you do it in American animation?
So
I mean, well-
so in American animation.
Yeah.
So like I think there's I am very much a proponent of like I just like cartoons. Like I read manga, manhwa, which is Korean comics. So like I just like cartoons. So the reason or at least my problem with American cartoons is the way they're portrayed, if that makes sense. Like think about how many like philosophical like American cartoons there are. like
Yeah.
0.
Rick and Morty.
Rick and Morty, yeah.
Oddly
maybe.
though, oddly
No,
enough, Rick and Morty's
no.
the closest, but like that's
No, but like it's not even that. Like, no, it's not, and I don't even like. I'm not even saying philosophical. I just like. So personally, I like watching a wide variety of stuff. Like I don't like I'll watch a rom com, but immediately after I'll watch like a really bloody psychological horror, like really messed up stuff. So like so my problem with American cartoons is like there's just not enough variety because it's either for kids or it's it's Family Guy. Yeah, like it's either like Dexter's Laboratory, which is like
it's great.
Phenomenal.
Yeah.
sure. I mean, like, all right, so Dexter's
7-year-old me fucking
all right, yeah.
ate up Dexter's Laboratory.
Yeah, exactly. But if you watched it now, it's like I don't know, it's okay, you know. Or Scooby Doo, and like that's my thing is like
Don't
I
get
would.
Chris started.
Do you like Scooby Doo?
No, our friend Chris loves Scooby Doo.
Oh really?
I love
Yeah.
Scoober.
Oh yeah, you like Scooby Doo. You're Finston. Shout out to BoJack.
Hey, don't
Yeah.
Expose.
No, but yeah.
Fair.
But yeah, so I feel like that's my thing. It's like it's not that it can't be done in America. It's just that like for whatever reason, cartoons are generally just not done that. But that being said, I love Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Yeah.
Best anime of all time. I also like Samurai Jack too. So like I do like American cartoons, I'd say, but like yeah, they just don't give me enough variety. Like I want to watch that. If there was an American cartoon about a guy going from New York City to like upstate, like going to like Tully upstate or like Phoenix upstate to learn how to farm, I would love to see that cartoon.
Yeah.
Especially considering I'm from upstate, so I feel like that would be hilarious. So like yeah, like if that happened, that'd be cool. But like there just doesn't seem to be a market for that. If that makes sense, or it just doesn't happen.
I think it's also the way American cartoons are produced and marketed, whereas like in Japan, it's much shorter, like 12 episodes, you're done. Whereas networks like Cartoon Network, Nickelodeon, and Disney Channel really put a lot of time, effort, and money into their shows so that they can be sustained over like years and years and years. Whereas like there's like 50 new anime that come out a season. I can't name 50 cartoons that are airing right now on American channels. Cartoon Network, all you have is like Teen Titans Go, Steven Universe, whatever.
Adventure Time, or is that
Adventure Time's ending. They have one more episode,
Oh really?
and it's like a big 4-part finale. But like Adventure Time's been on since 2010, which is
Yeah.
crazy. But like I think American cartoons they put a lot more time in staying longer, and I think almost anime style is almost like its own genre, if that makes sense, of American cartoons,
Yeah,
because they take anime elements like design wise and narrative wise, but they're much more episodic and spread out, like with little hints and much like a much slower development of an overall narrative, whereas an anime I'd say is more focused on presenting the narrative in like 12 episodes, whereas something like Steven Universe, I know, for example, spends just dozens of episodes with hints and small little things of
But
what's
how
going
do
to
you
happen.
explain shonen / like episode 1 of My Hero
Well, 'cause
Academia season 3?
I think shonen is more arc-based, whereas cartoons aren't.
Wait,
You know what I mean?
so you're saying that a lot of animes just have like one season and they're done?
Yeah,
You
that's how it
prefer
works.
That?
What?
You prefer that?
I'm not saying I prefer it or not. It really depends
I
on the
also
show.
feel like that's a pretty new development though.
It's definitely newer, but like back in the day, like before the year 2000, you never had sequels. Usually shows were between 24 to 50 episodes, or they'd be like super long running magical girl, giant robot wars, or that was really it.
Yeah, basically.
But like
yeah,
most shows of the 2000s were 24 episodes. It's only the 2010s where everything is like 12 episodes, or a very recent development is 12 episodes every year, and it goes for a few years, which is like anime sequels were very, very scarce. And it's almost like American cartoons, you don't really count each season differently. You just kind of like, obviously you have distinctions in your mind, like, oh, this is this season, blah, 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 blah. But like anime, it's like when a whole new season is announced, it's almost like it's a new show. Like you really keep track of.
So it's
you know.
it's considered a sequel rather than a continuation.
Yes and
Same
no. It's like it depends. Like there's the show that's
'Cause you
airing
kept
now.
calling
Or,
them sequels. Like sequels don't come out a lot. Like,
Yeah.
I would think of that as season 2. You know what I mean?
it's different.
Well, kind of like
'Cause
think about so basically a good way to think about it is you know how like Samurai Jack came out like 10 years later,
Yeah.
season 5.
Yeah.
Like that's kind of how anime operates more, although
It's
it
less.
isn't. It isn't. Like
It's
I would,
less
I would-
predictable.
it's like yeah.
Like a cartoon, like a show will the season is like from the fall to the spring, and then there's a break for summer. Whereas anime has 4 seasons: winter, spring, summer, fall.
And there are no breaks.
There's no breaks at all. And
Great for
then
me.
and then usually first, if a sequel comes out, it can be whenever. It's not guaranteed the next year at the same time. Like the show Basilisk came out in like 2006, and it just got a sequel this year, which is really weird and very unpredictable.
Same with Fooly Cooly.
Yeah, that show came out in like 2001, and now there's just a sequel that's coming out this year. It's oftentimes not necessarily a reboot, but like a lot of changes that make it a very different show in some ways. Like usually there aren't necessarily cliffhangers at the end of seasons. It's like a very resolved finite point. And then sometimes sequels for anime feel very unnecessary because you think it's over.
Or they'll just leave it like open ended and like have no ending and then never have another like ending ever again.
Yeah.
Like Dead Man Wonderland.
Yeah.
But like so like to go back to your original question of like why can't we just watch American cartoons? I think like there's a lot of reasons, but at the end of the day, like I think they actually could be done. It's just they're not.
Yeah.
If you ask me.
Well,
like,
I think you might have misunderstood the question. I wasn't really asking why don't you just watch American cartoons. I was asking why can't American cartoons do the
They
things
can.
that they can do?
Yeah,
they can.
They just choose not.
Yeah, they just choose not
Yeah.
to basically.
The cartoons are kind of have like certain expectations already built into them because they're kind of like the way TV operates in America is different than the way TV operates in Japan. Whereas anime really is just kind of a platform to kind of create the way comics are.
It's a lot. Yeah, it's more
Yeah.
adaptation work in Japan.
Yes, it's more.
and it's more advertisements
tool.
to go read manga or play games or whatever, which is definitely a difference.
So like in some ways, anime is almost like you know how like when like Marvel is starting to pop off now. There's like Agent of Shield and stuff like. There's all these spin-off TV series. In some ways, a lot of animes like that, where it's like, hey, like you should watch this and then buy the manga. That's why, as I said, like Dead Man Wonderland didn't have an ending because they're like, you know what you should do? Buy our merchandise, buy our comics, and read it yourself.
It's
So,
crazy
like,
how much that happens. Like
Yeah,
it's
and it happens
really
with-
an advertising medium.
Mhm.
Which is why when like original stuff comes out, they try to make it as good as possible because that's the only way it makes money is by people buying the DVDs. Whereas American cartoons are made so that advertisers just, commercials on TV, like the
Yeah,
show
they're-
is the product
yeah.
or toys. Toys are a lot more
That's
like toys that anime try to sell are like for collectors, like really detailed expensive figures, whereas in America, a lot of shows with toys are meant for children and they're a lot cheaper.
not toys, they're figures.
They're figures.
So
But
you
yeah,
guys think that the people who make anime try to manipulate the viewer base?
absolutely.
Okay.
Like
Define
very
Does that piss
manipulate.
people off?
Define
Yes, well-
manipulate the viewer base.
Oh, I don't know, like
I mean, don't all artists like
Yeah,
some?
that's-
I mean,
like,
do
Yeah,
you mean like
that's true.
pander?
but no, like I guess take advantage.
Yes.
Yeah.
That
Does
is
that
one
piss
of the
people
big.
off?
Yeah, that pisses me off. That's the problem. I don't know.
I mean, like,
that's the reason
I
we
think
have
it
so many
does.
like idol shows.
yeah, but
Yeah.
but at the same time, people want that.
Yeah, the
So,
problem
like-
is they create a demand they change the shows that come out. I don't know how to explain this, but like recent trends in shows are just based on like corporate interference and pushing out stuff that will make them money through sales. Like a really popular genre is the idol genre, which is literally anime about these groups known as idol groups, which are real life groups of like young female singers or male singers, but it's not as common. And it's just them being cute and living their daily lives and then singing. And for some reason, it's just such a giant thing in Japan, and even here, a lot of people like it. So they just spend so much time and money into making these shows. Even if they're not that good, the fans love it and will spend all of their money on it. So it's a lot of pandering. And another recent trend is shows about like otakus, which are anime fans, just doing things so that people are like, that's me, that's my life. I'm gonna watch this show and laugh about how I've done that silly thing. And it's a very heavily pander-based market.
Well, isn't that just like sitcoms? Like, oh,
Yeah.
I relate to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but tell me if I'm wrong, but I think the American viewing audience is leaning more towards away from sitcoms now that we have things like Netflix that makes what people
Really,
think
I
is
feel
more
like
interesting.
Netflix
People love
make
sitcoms.
I was about to say
Some
Net-
sitcoms,
Net-
yeah, but
Worship
like,
Friends and
I feel like
Seinfeld.
Netflix is slowly becoming the Seinfeld like gateway, but
well, no, I
Or
think
is that
Seinfeld
Hulu? I
is
forgot.
fine, but like a lot of the newer shows that
And, like,
air
well,
aren't
maybe-
sitcoms.
no, I think
Has
you
Netflix
have a
made
kind of
sitcoms?
point that they're
They
like
made, like,
there
2.
are anime like sitcoms. The big difference is that like they at the end of the sitcom they're like, if you want to read the end or if you want to find out how this eventually ends, like buy our products. You know what I mean?
Doesn't that like piss you off?
Yeah.
What?
Like if somebody
Like,
like
read the manga
okay,
endings.
if I watch a show.
Oh yes,
and-
read. So, but not all anime end like that, and I also feel like, so I don't know, but yeah, continue.
If I watched a show that I was invested in and then it didn't end and they were like, pay us money to see the rest, I would like not buy anything from that company.
Yeah.
I'd be like, fuck off.
Yeah.
You know what
No,
I
that's
mean?
fair.
Well, that's what a
It's-
lot of people do, and they're like, crap, we need to make a sequel,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
So that
Yeah.
does the case.
I mean, most of my favorite shows are complete.
yeah, most of them
like,
are.
I mean, my favorites. Well, I like Naruto, but Naruto will never end because they're just going to keep milking it. But I think that's more for different reasons. Because even though the original main stories ended, there's sequels and spin-offs and whatever. But it's a long-running shonen, so I forgive it. But like Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood is done. Death Note is done, and they'll remake Death Note, but every time it'll be slightly different. So whatever. JoJo's is still going, but that's because it's JoJo's. And then like Gurren Lagann is like done. Like if you look at some of the most well-regarded shows, they are completed and do not have
But
room
that's
for
also all
sequels.
shonen. Like, so that's all shows for men. Like, a lot of rom-coms aren't like that.
That's true.
So like it also depends on like, so that's a big thing that like I always advocate is that like anime manga is actually a lot anime. So actually, I guess I should bring this back. I think it was Caitlin, right? So you at the beginning you're like, are there any girls in the anime club?
Yes.
Why did you ask that?
Because my conception of anime people is like Craig.
No,
That's
like-
fair.
Just like a lot of like boys. Yeah, I don't know. It just feels like a boys club. I don't know. Like Yeah, and I
lends
feel like
itself
I
to
think one
of-
yeah.
masculine.
or
I-
even
yeah,
like
definitely.
perceptions of it like on like regular American TV shows, like when they go to Comic-Con, like
Yeah.
one for shits one time. Like it's all just men. I don't know.
No, like, and
I think
I
'cause, like-
I will say, like, I actually talked to a lot of like women in anime club about the problems with like con culture, and actually is very like
Yeah.
problematic. Like, a lot of them were like sexually harassed at one
Mhm.
point. So like,
Yeah.
I don't want to like detract from that,
Mhm.
but I do like. I mean, it should be noted like that there actually is like it's very diverse.
No, I
Or
know
is
it.
it just
I-
like is it stuff that you have to like look for? Do you have to go out of your way to look for it, or
Look
is it
for
just like
what?
not the
Kinda.
stuff that's really?
What do you
presented?
mean? Like look for shows with
Like
strong
shoujo?
women, or
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's actually so it depends where you're looking because so I actually would say that most anime is actually made towards men and a lot of because I don't know why, but a lot of cases more men are into anime and more women, not necessarily more women, but there's a more of an equal proportion of women in manga. So a lot of the anime that is made for women actually is just to promote the manga. So that's what I was kind of talking to you earlier about. Yeah. So like that, but like as to like to answer your question about like is it out there like or like I would say like it's kind of not in the United States, but I would argue in Japan it is easy. It's like much easier. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because like in America, you can easily get Shonen Jump. I remember it.
Very
Like,
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
yeah. So like
Very
that's the
easily.
thing. But like you can't get like Kiss
Yes.
or
Shoujo beat.
Shoujo B or well, Kiss is Josei, but that's a different issue.
Jose's.
Same
Jose's
thing,
just
yeah.
a small genre in general.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's my favorite. But yeah.
It's Jose is for 40-year-old women.
Not for 40-year-old. It's for
Older
20.
women.
It's 20 to 40. So like it's
Very,
a very,
very
whatever.
strange.
So like some of it's more about college ones. Like one of my favorite manga period is actually a woman's life story about how she became a mangaka or someone who writes manga and like
Which one is this?
Kagu Kagu Chikajika, that one. And like it's basically just. And it's just really interesting because it's also like kind of talks about how she became a single mother. Well, a little bit, but it just, like it just talks about like how is anime art and all this stuff. So like it's really interesting. But regardless, that's kind of like what I'm getting at is that like in the United States, it like anime definitely is pretty masculine,
Yeah.
but it's not necessarily the case, and it's definitely changing because if you go to a con these days, you're gonna see a lot of man booty on somebody. Like it is actually just a fact. You're just gonna be like, wow.
There's also a lot of women in the industry. Like a
Yeah.
lot of really popular boys manga are written by women. Full Metal Alchemist is written by a woman. Inuyasha and D. Gray Man are all written by women. I'd say one of the best like directors, or at least one of my favorites, Sayo Yamamoto, is a woman. She directed Yuri on Ice.
Yep.
A lot of the really good composers are women. Yoko Kanno, Yuki Kadra. Yeah,
I
so
mean-
there's a lot of women doing stuff. Most of the most celebrated voice actors in Japan, at least, are the female voice actors. But like
But
then
that also has like.
I was about to say,
yeah.
then it gets into weird levels of like idolization and fetishization, and it gets strange.
Mhm.
So-
But like, yeah, like so that is. Although if you notice, like besides Yamato Sayo, name another female director. I don't.
Okay, she's not a director, but Mari Okada is one of the most consistent writers.
But
She
name
wrote-
another director.
Uh,
Because I actually don't like. I honestly.
yeah, you're right.
Because like even like some of the most
Jeez.
like feminist ones
Yeah, no,
are
they're all-
actually directed by men.
I
That's
can't
so
think.
interesting.
Yeah,
But,
I can't.
And like and
I'll look this
don't
up.
ask me about feminist anime because that's like a different.
I mean, there are
That's
some.
an issue I
Does
can
it-
pop off.
Does it
It's
exist?
debatable.
Okay.
But I would say there is one that certainly does exist that was made in the 70s, Belladonna of Sadness. It's very how do I put it? So you can actually watch it if you're a Binghamton student through Binghamton, on
Through
Canopy
Canopy.
Stream, through Canopy streaming actually.
Might be wrong.
So I'm just gonna warn you, it's basically an acid trip in a nutshell.
Oh, I found
So,
I found a really good female director.
It's also another problem is like I'm just gonna warn you up front. The first 10 minutes, the main character gets gang raped, so it is pretty brutal. It is not an easy watch. It is like but the devil's literally a penis and like things of that nature. So like it is very far out there. Like there's a scene where like basically people are like talking about how like her hands are dirty, how she's like has dirty money because she becomes tax collector or whatever, and like her hands literally turn into vagina because of the stigmatization of like whatever. I don't want to get like pop off. Dude, like it's actually just like wow, and like so the last scene is literally just a picture of Lady Liberty leading the way, which is like a French painting of like this bare-chested woman like leading the charge. So like I would argue, I mean, it's also a little like, because I'm a guy, like I feel a little bit weird because like there does seem to be a kind of theme where it's like women just need to violently overthrow the system, and you're just like, I would rather you not kill me. But so I mean, I would say that there actually kind of is in Yamato Sayo's works. I think you could call like borderline, where like
also Naoka. Oh, I just saw her last name. The person that directed A Silent Voice, Naoka Yamada. She does like all the KyoAni stuff.
really,
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
She
Okay.
directed K-On! Free, A Silent Voice, and then she's done a bunch of episode directing on all the other like Haruhi and stuff like that.
Okay.
And like KyoAni is pretty. I don't want to say girl friendly because I feel like that's a weird phrase, but like I feel like okay, so you have all the creepy men watching the cute girl shows that they do, but like most of them star girls and like are pretty interesting
Mhm.
girls. Like KyoAni makes like the. I'm not a big slice of life fan, but when they make one, I'll watch it. Like I love Lucky Star and Harley, so like
Yeah.
I feel like that's good.
Mhm.
There's also Ghost in the Shell, which is probably one of the best female characters in anime.
Well, Perfect Blue is literally
Perfect Blue,
all about how the idol. So like, long story short, there's like a surprising amount more than people probably realize. That being said, those kinds of anime you have to search hard for. Like
Yeah.
that's actually like
Beast Tamer.
that's not really. That's just like wholesome.
Is it?
But yeah, oh, I love that. But yeah, so that type of whatever. But like, there's a lot of DL stuff. So like, I would
Boys
say
love.
boys love.
What's that?
Yeah,
Yeah,
boys
wait.
love.
Like-
Yeah, wait.
Gay stuff.
It's gay stuff. It's not. It's
It
not.
sounded like pedophile.
No, it's
Wait,
not.
No.
No,
It's not
just
even.
boy.
It's just boy. Like
I mean, there are
It's just
some,
gay?
which is also.
Yeah, it's just
strange.
it's generally just high school dudes making out, kind of, and like, yeah, so that's like a whole genre. So like, that is something I feel like that is a big thing in the American anime community. Is like animes for men. Well, it's like not really. Although there are more like anime geared towards men than women, but at least in manga, it's pretty equal. But yeah, I kind of popped off about that. Want to go to the next question?
I think that was most of the questions I had written down. I did have one, mainly for you, BoJack. Well, because you're the only one that's actually like seen stuff. Like, what have you
Have
seen?
you seen? Wait.
And why?
Yeah.
What have
let's go.
Except for
around.
Avatar: Last Airbender doesn't count.
I mean,
I watched Pokemon. I just
Hey,
watched the shit on Cartoon Network.
yeah. Did you watch like any of the late night stuff, like Bleach? Or no? No. All right.
I watched the classic shonen stuff, my Naruto's, my Yu-Gi-Oh's, my Pokemon's. I watched Death Note. It was okay. I like the potato chip scene. It's really funny. I've
Great.
seen both Hellsings.
oh, you've seen both?
I've seen
Really?
both.
I never even finished.
I have
the first
Hellsing
one.
season 1 on DVD in
So
my
do
house.
I.
Really? Wait,
Hellsing-
the OVAs, the
The-
original?
I've seen both. I've seen the original and the OVA.
But you have the
original on DVD.
original.
bad
Yeah,
one.
the original is pretty shitty, but the soundtrack is great.
Yeah, no, the soundtrack is definitely better
Go
than
listen
the
to some good
original.
Japanese R&B. I recommend listening to the Hellsing soundtrack.
Yeah, Caitlin, anime music's wild.
I bet. I don't doubt
Some of it bops.
And of course, I've seen Japanese professional wrestling. The best
Yeah.
anime.
Really?
Yes, I'm a
It's
gigantic
incredible.
Japanese professional wrestling fan.
Mhm.
The superior of the two Japanese
incredible.
species growing up in America.
Can you talk more about it?
What?
But we could have a
It's fucking
whole
awesome.
podcast about it.
Yeah.
It's awesome. We've seen
Japanese professional wrestling is just professional wrestling with Japanese people.
Is it like WWE or actually wrestling?
It's
It's WWE.
But it's also
That's
like
how you do
on another earth.
oh, it's on a
It's not
whole
just, like,
nother. It's
Japanese
so beyond
wrestling. It's
John
like a
Cena.
whole- yeah.
Kenny
Alright.
Omega is a
It's an
cultural
One of the
experience.
funniest
icon.
parts about it is
Wait, has everyone?
all-
Yeah.
He got us into it.
the crowd sits there politely like this, like
Yes,
watching.
yes, and they clap. For
Yeah,
the-
they're like, oh yeah.
These guys were like,
people with signs going wild, and,
Oh,
like
yeah.
throwing their beers, and then like they like leave the ring and they're like fighting each other in the stands, and people are like, oh.
while they were beating the shit out of each other.
They're super timid and they clap politely at this like WWE event.
Great.
Wow. Wait, should recommend?
I absolutely recommend
Yeah.
this.
Kenny
Absolutely.
Omega, just Google him.
Do you recommend it?
Yeah.
You're alright.
I mean, I prefer it in small doses. Like, I wouldn't consider myself a fan,
Yeah.
but I like to
Just
watch
watch
and be like,
it.
oh, this dude's beating the shit out of each other.
Ironically, this is really random. I've actually recently gotten into Project Runway, like in small
Ooh.
doses.
Really?
Yeah, surprisingly good.
Designers making
What's that guy's name? Tim, the guy
Tim
with the
Gunn.
Tim
Tim
Gunn.
Gunn.
Yeah, he's kind of adorable. Like,
He's precious.
it's like,
I love him.
do you watch Project Runway?
I used to when I was
really?
younger.
Pretty great. We watch as a house, and that's like That's how I got
You
it.
guys want to do that in the house next year?
Yeah.
Yes.
Project
We should watch
Runway Nerds.
RuPaul's Drag Race.
You probably should.
What was it? What was the question?
Oh, I forgot.
Did you
Yeah.
watch Project Runway?
I think
Oh
we're
no,
just-
it was what have we watched?
Yeah, what have you guys
Yes,
watched?
yeah.
Yeah.
what-
You just saw nothing.
Pretty much.
I did Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh when I was younger.
Didn't you watch an episode of Ergo Proxy? Yeah, you asked me for
Potentially.
you asked me for an anime with a
Yeah.
with a female lead, and you were like, "This girl's cool."
Wait,
she
why
has
would you
Oh
give
my
it?
god,
because
yeah.
she had like the same eyeliner.
Oh,
She's
really?
like, "Yo, this girl's got like this or the same eyeshadow as me. She's cool." And then
Yeah.
you were like,
And
"You're
then I
like, what did
didn't
I just
finish it.
watch?"
Yeah, I was
I'm
really
like-
confused and the characters I could not keep track
Yeah,
of.
Ergo
Like,
Proxy's weird.
there would be a storyline for like 5 minutes and then another one and then I was confused. And
That's
then
like the average anime I watch. Just like to
It
put in
was-
perspective.
I feel like
yeah.
I needed to take notes or something.
No,
Dude.
Ergo Proxy's whack.
And then that one episode of Yuri on Ice.
Whack.
But I'm trying to watch Revolutionary Girl.
Utena.
Utena.
Yes, I've heard that's good.
Super
It's
super
pretty
lesbian.
Weird.
Yeah, that's why I heard about it.
So I wouldn't say. I mean, I've watched it. I wouldn't really like. I wouldn't. It's not like if you want to see some real Yuri, which is lesbian stuff. Watch Citrus, but that will
Ah.
also
Citrus,
ruin
of
your
course
life.
it's fucking
Yeah.
good.
I hate
Yeah.
Citrus.
But or
No,
Girls
don't.
Last Tour is some
It's
way
Yuri?
more. I mean, they end holding
Don't.
hands
Oh.
and stuff, and it's like.
Are they-
It's kind of like The Legend of Korra, where it's kind of implied that
I thought
But
they
anyway.
confirmed that she was gay.
yeah, and Legend
like
of
it's
Korra they do.
homoerotic,
confirm-
but not gay. Like it's
Not-
like there's
Well,
undertones,
Girls Last Tour
but
isn't
it's not.
homoerotic at all.
But like
and
Citrus
neither
is super
is
gay.
neither is Revolutionary Girl Utena. But what kind of makes it groundbreaking is that like there's just how do I put it? It's kind of all about like how gender roles are like kind of fluid. But like it's also kind of made for little girls, so it's made
Yeah.
for like shoujo, which is like teenage girls. So
Yeah,
it's like
that's how
kind
I
of
put it.
basic. Well, not basic, but like it's kind of made so that way teenage girls could follow, but also has some like very like deep stuff going on.
That's
like-
awesome.
Rob, who I talked about earlier, his favorite anime is Revolutionary Girls. You know?
I think I'm gonna
That
watch it.
or Ava too, but yeah.
I thought he also likes Macros.
Macross he just likes because it's big.
Yeah,
he just
that's
likes big machines.
Oh no,
Which
he
I don't.
he also
I,
looks
I don't.
fake.
I can't disagree with that because I like the anime that got me into anime was vampires in space.
Yeah.
So yeah.
That's all I have.
I think that's a good place to have vampires in
Yes.
space.
Right where we
Like that.
started, vampires, mechs in space. So unless you guys have any last questions. All right. Well, thank you guys for listening.
Wonderful.
come-
Yeah, thanks
Oh,
for having
thank
us.
you.
Yeah.
Follow me on Twitter.
You gotta say it then.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Where's your
You
Twitter?
She's like, it's time to fun.
I forgot my ad.
I'm at Concord Field, lowercase CONNERTORP.
At Sampic_98.
Premier Public Ivy on Instagram.
It's Daryl's her
Yeah.
Really?
Insta handle.
Your
is
public
Premier-
eye. Wow.
I know where I'm from and I respect it.
Alright, thanks, guys. Make sure you. Is this going to be our
Well,
last
up
one
to
for the
Anime
semester?
Club.
Yeah, this is going to be the last one for the semester,
Yeah,
guys.
so,
Unless one happens in May, but you'd have to do that.
I'm super busy for the
Finals,
3
yeah.
days of school we have. or
Wait, when
whatever.
does Anime Club meet?
Anime Club
Mondays.
meets Mondays 7:30 and 7:30 to 9:30 and Fine Arts 2:58 on Mondays, and then on Wednesdays we have discussion meeting from 7:30 to like 11 or like 10:30 depending.
Just whenever.
And Fine Arts 2:47, yeah, that
Isn't
one's
that-
pretty
isn't that
chill. Yeah.
So usually we cancel the
President
discussion.
and Vice
No,
President are
no,
not
no.
there.
Usually we cancel the discussion when we have a podcast, but we have the next president leading that discussion right now
Yep.
because we wanted to do both. Because
Nah, I stepped down. So. No hard feelings.
Do they still have to call you Mr. President?
Yes.
They never call him Mr.
His term isn't over.
Yeah, they have to say Thai show.
All right. Thanks, guys. Subscribe, listen.
Subscribe to DBCK Craig on YouTube.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, Craig, you should plug.
DBCKCRAIG.
So,
Yeah.
as Anime Club president, I feel ashamed. I recently just learned that
Like, an hour
Craig
ago.
specs the vice president of the anime club does anime reviews. So if you like our podcast, or even if you don't, you should go to because they're probably better as a podcast. But that's all right.
They're phenomenal.
YouTube.com/DBZK Craig O. All right. Goodbye.